A ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Whoa. Crazy. Trump trying to take credit, I guess. After a long night of talks mediated by the United States, I am pleased to announce that India and Pakistan have agreed to a full and immediate ceasefire. Congratulations to both countries using common sense and great intelligence. Thank you for your attention to this matter. From what I understand, Trump has had basically nothing to do with the ceasefire at all. He's just saying that he got the ceasefire because, I don't know, because he's woke or something. I don't know. It's kind of silly. Let's see. I want to get like some of the tenets of the ceasefire because apparently the ceasefire's already been violated. So not even like, I don't know, like, has it even been a couple hours since this ceasefire has happened? Then like then now it's been violated or something. They're both alleging violations. I don't know. Let's see. Explosions, violations reported after India and Pakistan agree ceasefire. Agreed to a ceasefire. The nations have agreed to an internationally mediated agreement, prompting scenes of celebrations in Kashmir. India and Pakistan have agreed to an immediate ceasefire after days of military escalation, deadly cross-border attacks, accusations, and counter-accusations had raised acute concerns that the two nuclear-armed neighbors would engage in an all-out war for the fifth time since, 1947. But violations of the truce were reported later on Saturday's explosions rang out across parts of the Indian-administered Kashmir. Explosions. Okay, so random explosions happened. Cool. We love that. India's foreign secretary Vikram Misri said in a briefing, for the last few hours, there have been repeated violations of the understanding arrived at earlier this evening between the Director Generals of Military Operations of India and Pakistan. This is a breach of an understanding arrived at earlier today. We call upon Pakistan to take appropriate steps to address these violations and deal with the situation, he said. Misri added that India's military has been given instructions to deal strongly with any violations. However, Pakistan's foreign ministry released a statement earlier Sunday responding to Misri's comments, saying the country remains committed to a faithful implementation of the ceasefire, announced with India earlier amid accusations of violations along the line of control. Okay, so Pakistan is saying like, okay, we're done with this. We are willing to uphold the ceasefire. We agreed to a ceasefire, but the Indians are just like, no, you have not held up your end. So you breached it because of random explosions that have happened. I know there's like people celebrating in like Kashmir or something. What's the likelihood that like, and this is like complete conspiracy. I don't know if they have like a lot of fireworks or firework regulations exist in like India or Pakistan or like in Kashmir or whatever. What's the likelihood, because it's alleged explosions? What's the likelihood it's like fireworks or some shit? I don't even know, dude. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like maybe some other people exploded or some shit or something exploded somewhere, but I find it really hard to believe that the ceasefire was immediately violated like a couple hours after it was signed. That's fucking crazy to me. I mean, anything can happen, I guess, but like, that's wild. In the statement, Pakistan accused India of committing breaches of the truce in some areas. Notwithstanding the violations being committed by India in some areas, our forces are handling the situation with responsibility and restraint, it said. We believe that any issues in smooth implementation of the ceasefire should be addressed through communication at appropriate levels. The troops on the ground should also exercise restraint, the statement added. Pakistan's information minister Atullah Tarar also told Geo News that there have been no violations of the agreement. From Pakistan's side or India's side? I'm assuming they're probably talking about Pakistan's side here, if it's the information minister from Pakistan saying it. Speaking to Al Jazeera, Shahar Khan, a security analyst based in Washington, says the reported truce violations underscore just how tenuous peace along the line of control is. She noted the most recent fighting broke a ceasefire agreement reached in 2021, the most substantial since 2003. This is still a very delicate and fragile ceasefire, but I think most people on the ground are relieved to see it. Khan said the ceasefire agreement negotiated in 2021, which came into effect 2023, was still really fragile. So I think this will be. I think while this is good news, I do expect to see some back and forth after this. Yeah, because what? Probably like. If it is as fragile as is being suggested, being said here, there could be some like potential problems with implementation. Maybe like some parts get like misinterpreted by someone. Maybe someone's just interpreting something in bad faith and they decide to, I don't know, fire a shell over the line of control because what? There was like artillery duels. So not only were there bombings of, well, military targets and some civilian targets, but there were also dogfights. The Indian and the Pakistani air forces were fighting one another, but also there was exchanges of fire, not only small arms but also artillery over the line of control. That was another thing that was happening, and of course drones, plenty of drones, obviously. Earlier Saturday, military officials from both countries had spoken to each other and agreed that all fighting would stop at 1700 Indian time, 11:30 GMT on Saturday, bringing a halt to all firing and operations by land, air, and sea. This followed heavy overnight exchanges Friday into Saturday. Misri said that the two military chiefs would speak to each other again on May 12th. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said later on Saturday he believes the long-running dispute over Kashmir and water sharing with India will be resolved. For the benefit of everyone, we have made this agreement of ceasefire, and we have been very positive about it, he said in a televised address. Is it? Okay, I'm trying to think here. So far, it seems like, and tell me if I'm being wrong here, I don't think either state can be trusted, but I feel like India is, like, less trustworthy. If we're talking about on, like, a trustworthiness scale, India is definitely untrustworthy, while the Pakistan is somewhat untrustworthy, I would say. Because they seem to be, like, I don't know, handling the situation, like, more maturely. At least that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. Because they're saying, like, yeah, we're going to uphold the sort of tenets of the ceasefire agreement, as tenuous as it is, and they're going to, like, figure out the whole water sharing problem. Because, so, from what I recall, basically how this all started, it was the terrorist attack in, I think it's Fagalam. I think that's how it's called, Fagalam. There was a terrorist attack that killed like 26 people. Then India decides to sort of not like ratchet up the tensions, but India retaliates by going upstream where they have control of the waterways up there. They go upstream and basically block off like two of the rivers that go into the, along the Himalayas, right around the like Hindu Kush up there, of the rivers that go down into Pakistan. They cut off access to that. Pakistan sees that as basically an act of war, and then the skirmishes basically started. And then they negotiate, saying like, okay, let's stop. Then some random explosions happened in India's part of Kashmir, and we don't know like what kind of explosions those are from. If they're from like explosives or like fireworks or some other shit, whatever. There's explosions, and now tensions are back up, and each side, well, India is accusing Pakistan of violating the ceasefire agreement, while Pakistan is saying like, well, the agreement isn't perfect, but we just kind of want to not fight anymore, and we're just gonna like try to figure stuff out. If I recall correctly. Oh, and also like all of the diplomats were also pulled from each other's capitals and shit like that. Whatever. Sharif accused India of killing civilians and targeting mosques with drone and missile attacks in recent weeks, calling claims against Pakistan baseless. If anyone challenges Pakistan's independence, Sharif warned, we will do anything to defend it, he added. The ceasefire announcement met relief and joyous scenes from residents in both countries and in the areas of disputed Kashmir that each administers. But just hours after the ceasefire was announced, explosions were heard across the city of Srinagar in Indian-administered Kashmir, according to Omar Abdullah, chief minister of the federal territory. What the hell just happened to the ceasefire? Explosions heard across Srinagar. Abdullah posted on X. Well, it's unfortunate because I was just asking you a question. God, I don't remember what the question was. Jesus Christ. I was doing like a recounting of the events and saying like, okay, is this like accurate or not to say like how this all sort of started. There was the I'll try to do it TLDR as much as possible. Terrorist attack. Because of the terrorist attack, India accuses Pakistan of doing that. So they go upstream along the Hindu Kush, where there are the rivers flowing into both India and Pakistan. They cut off the rivers for Pakistan, which is a violation of the water treaty. Pakistan says, bro, what the fuck? This is like literal fucking war. Fuck you. And then the border skirmishes happen. The dogfights, the artillery exchanges, small arms fires, and stuff like that. Then both sides come to an agreement saying like, okay, we're gonna stop. No more. Let's stop. Then some explosions happen. We don't know what kind of explosions. We don't know if it's like explosions from like partisans, like militants, extremists, or whatever. There's explosions. And then India accuses Pakistan of doing these explosions, and then now tensions are back up because Pakistan's saying like, bro, we had nothing to do with this. What the fuck? And I was also talking about sort of like the level of trustworthiness, where I think India is definitely not trustworthy, and Pakistan, I would say, is like somewhat trustworthy, right? Like, India, don't trust, like, basically a word from them. Like, nothing at all. They can't be believed. You can't fucking believe them. But Pakistan, yeah, they're, like, still pretty untrustworthy, but they're probably not as bad as India. Is this, like, a pretty decent assessment? And India's not helping the situation. They just accuse Pakistan and Kashmiri people of everything. That's true. That is true. They are just like a bunch of dumb fucking nationalists. But yeah, I think that's kind of like the vibe that I'm getting here, where basically any statement from India you should take with an extreme grain of salt, and anything that comes out of Pakistan should also be taken with a grain of salt. But anything from India should be, well, questioned more significantly. Both of these countries are run by mad kings and dominated by nationalist brainrot in their media. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Very, very good. So, that's kind of where we're at, I suppose. Let's just keep going in this. But just hours after the ceasefire was announced, explosions were heard across the city of I read that already. Al Jazeera's Osama bin Javid, reporting from Lahore, Pakistan, said, people are welcoming the ceasefire, but we are also reminded how precarious it is. Ceasefire violations are already happening across the line of control in the disputed Kashmir region. We've been hearing from local sources that there have been an exchange of fire in multiple locations in the Kashmir region, and there are some projectiles that have entered the Pakistani airspace as well, he said. We're also hearing the loud explosions in Srinagar, similar to what was heard early Saturday and in the afternoon. Air sirens are all across, and there's a power shutdown. Journalist Umar Miraj told Al Jazeera from Srinagar. Cool. Lahore is near the border and almost 16 million people live there. India's nuts for sending drones there. Yeah. That's also what I'm getting, Boy Meets Mini, that is the capital of the Indian side of Kashmir, right? Cool. Internationally mediated, or rather, hold on. One of the blasts was so powerful it made the walls tremble. Authorities are not clarifying what's going on. We do not have any shelters, nor did we hear any sirens. We do not know what to do. There is only fear, which is what a resident said to Al Jazeera. Cool. The ceasefire appears to have been mediated by international actors, but there are conflicting reports as to which countries played a crucial role. Trump claims it was the U.S. He was the first to declare it on Truth Social post. After a long night of talks mediated by the United States, I am pleased to announce that India and Pakistan have agreed to a full and immediate ceasefire. Congratulations to both countries on common sense and great intelligence, he wrote. Well, I guess so much for common sense and, well, great intelligence. The only country I could see having orchestrated this is China. Yeah, I don't believe Trump for fucking even a second. I'm keeping it real. No. Al Jazeera's Mike Hanna, reporting from Washington, D.C., noted there are questions about why the U.S. did announce first. What sort of leverage does it have over India and Pakistan? We do know that it was a multilateral attempt to get a ceasefire. We do know as well that the United Kingdom has just signed a major trade deal with India, so it would also have great sway in this. Still, the U.S. appears to be taking it further. We do know that the U.S. wants to get closer to India because India is a foil against the Chinese because of, the border tensions and skirmishes that they've had with the Chinese military, the Indians, that is. Hey, BRICS enjoyers. Most of those guys all hate each other. Who would have thought? However, Dar told broadcaster Geo News that Pakistan and India had agreed to a full-fledged and not partial ceasefire, adding that 36 countries were involved in the diplomacy that secured it. Damn! That's crazy. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the agreement also includes plan for broader talks at a neutral venue, which conflicts with the statement published on social media by India's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting that says there is no decision to hold talks on any other issue at any other place. Cool. So far, still a complete shit show. That won't happen with the stupid tariffs. Good luck, Trump. Yeah, well, What do you mean? I'm such a good negotiator, folks. Broader issues. Amid the cessation of hostilities, India and Pakistan have also agreed to a broader dialogue on various issues. Two government sources told the news agency Reuters that all measures taken by India against Pakistan after April 22nd, including on trade and visas, remain in place. Al Jazeera's Osmar bin Javed, whatever, reporting from Lahore, Pakistan, said that for the Pakistani side, the water issue is crucial because India has suspended its related treaty with Pakistan, which affects the livelihood and agriculture in this country. Yeah, as far as I can tell, the two rivers that are, from up in the Hindu Kush by, the Himalayas mountains, those are pretty much, Pakistan's two main sources of fresh water. So, we all know, cutting off water and essential needs and stuff like that, that is a crime against the Geneva Convention, if, I recall. Listen, guys, I'm not a stupid American. I know my geography. I am just a humble Canadian. I know better. So, haha. Correct. See? Boy Meets Mini says I'm right. Therefore, I am right. Okay, that's how that works. India's main sources are not direct from Kashmir, but it's still a really valuable water source. Yeah, so since, India can just be well, that's not our main water, we can just be, complete assholes and, cut it off and just use water as a weapon of war, which is, that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. 4 government sources told Reuters that the Indus Waters Treaty, signed in 1960 between India and Pakistan, remains suspended. The treaty regulates the sharing of water from the Indus River and its tributaries between the South Asian nations. India pulled out of it last month. It is crucial to agriculture in both nations. There are real fundamental political issues that need to be addressed so we don't find it ourselves again in a militarized crisis. Elizabeth Threlked, director of South Asia program at the Stimson Center, told Al Jazeera. The timing is significant since there is significant water flow between India and Pakistan because of the season at the moment. But in a few months' time, that will start to dry up. Yeah, which means if this doesn't get taken care of soon, Pakistan's gonna have significant they're probably gonna suffer from a drought, right? India does not necessarily have the infrastructure to meaningfully divert water right now, but it will gain that capacity when there's less flow. Oh, they might divert the water. Oh, that's kind of fucking crazy. Which means if you divert the water, you divert too much water. If you can correct me if I'm wrong, Boy Meets Mini, if I'm getting my sort of ecological facts correct or not, it's basically floodplains, right? In the region, what I think it's is it the Punjab region? I think of India. So it's a bunch of floodplains, which means it's really low and flat. Which means if you put too much water in there, it can very, very easily flood, right? It's really scary because the Indus Valley is the breadbasket of the region, basically. Punjab's there. Yeah, okay. So basically the problem is because of the sort of geography and the ecology of the area, you divert too much water, guess what? You may be fucking over your neighbor that you don't like really much, but you're going to be causing a huge problem with yourself by making a massive flood. So that will have to be on the agenda of the talks if the two sides are to come together, she added. And that's a map of the line of control. Very cool. God has been kind to us for now. Following the announcement of a ceasefire, residents on both sides of the line of control in Kashmir expressed a sigh of relief, or a sense of relief, with many praying for a lasting solution to the Kashmir conflict. I was extremely anxious about what was happening, 25-year-old Rumasya Jan, a resident of Srinagar in Indian-administered Kashmir, who has had her wedding scheduled next week, told Al Jazeera. This is the wisest decision taken after so many lives have been lost. We want peace and an end to all these hostilities. Firdous Ahmed Sheikh, who runs a travel agency in the city, said he was frustrated by Kashmir being turned into a battleground by the two countries. My only fear is that things could escalate again in the future. These countries must sit together and find a political solution to Kashmir once and for all. I pray our children do not have to witness such times again. I mean, we know what the political solution here is. It's Kashmiri independence, which is broadly speaking, I think, what people want. But there's no way the Indians or the Pakistanis are gonna fucking ever agree to that. So, God has been kind to us for now. And Muzaffarabad, capital of Pakistan-administered Kashmir, residents welcomed the ceasefire, saying they hope it will bring a long-awaited relief to the region that has borne the brunt of the recurring conflict. For us, peace means survival, said Zulfikar Ali, a resident. We suffered enough. I'm glad that both Pakistan and India have made a sensible decision. Well, I mean, hopefully there's going to be a sensible decision where they just come back to the table and just okay, guys, we need to relax. Chill. Let's just resolve all the problems and just move on with our lives. And, I guess that's all we can really see going from here. But yeah, broadly speaking, if there are alleged violations rehappening again, or being rehashed, or reopened, or whatever the fuck, let's be honest here. Broadly speaking, I don't think you could really trust either side here. Both of them are incredibly untrustworthy, with India being the more untrustworthy of the two. Let's be honest here. So, I guess all we can really do at this point is just kind of wait and see what happens. See if there is something that is longer lasting, gets hopefully established or something. That's all we can really do at this point in terms of this conflict. IP to Electric Boogaloo, of course. Well, we just gotta wait and see, right? What ultimately gets sort of dealt with. Also, I still find it hilarious that this complete dumbass Trump is just listen, I did everything. It was OB, and it was like 36 other countries or something. It was just silly, very dumb. But yeah, that's really the kind of vibe that I'm getting here. Tenuous ceasefire. Is it still in place? Apparently, there's been violations. It just happened. Who the hell knows what's happening? For all you know, literally, you could wake up next day and then all of a sudden there could be fighting again or something. And, you know, at this point, it's mostly just merely a matter of just waiting and seeing what happens.